Alright, so Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders are open tomorrow. Now, I know your first knee-jerk instinct is to pre-order Nintendo Switch 2 because it's the new hot tech with Mario Kart World and you need to play Mario Kart World. But I'm going to tell you right now, just hold your pre-orders. Even if it's only 10% of the people that were intending to get a Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo will notice and they will drop price for the people that actually deserve to get it for a fair price. But holding your impulses to buy new tech won't only be a good thing for people that want a Nintendo Switch 2 in the near future for a better price, but it'll show the rest of the gaming industry juggernaut like PlayStation and Xbox that gamers aren't only addicts and impulse buyers. We actually have souls and brains and thoughts. I'm not going to get a Nintendo Switch 2, even though I really want one, mainly because I know if I buy this system, Nintendo will probably raise the prices even more. Doug Bowser said it himself that the price will be variable based on what the game is and the demand for it. Now, this is a dangerous precedent they're setting, not only for consumers, but for the gaming industry as a whole. So just hold your pre-orders for the next batch or the apology post that Nintendo is going to make on Twitter, because I'm telling you right now, if games are $80 from this point on, then I'm just not going to buy any more games. I'm sure the uproar and backlash already told all of the other companies that this is probably not a good idea, but Nintendo is doubling down and increasing the prices of their Amiibo. Those things used to be 15 bucks. Now they're going to be 40. Amiibos are small little toys that give you tiny DLC in your games. And you're going to pay $40 for a little figurine that you're going to forget about in a couple months and probably sell for more than you bought it for. But I don't think the resale value is going to be worth it if you buy the Amiibo for $40 in the first place. But everybody saw with Nintendo raising the prices of all of their accessories and even their Amiibos that they won't stop there. They're probably going to increase the prices of all the Nintendo Switch 2s in the next batch. But there is one way we can stop this: by not having a Nintendo Switch in the month of June. If you can hold off for 1 month, and I'm sure everybody's waited 8 years for this console to release, but Nintendo has already made their bed with the prices. And sure, a lot of people are getting brainwashed and blaming inflation or tariffs, but the tariffs have been put on hold. This is for the expectation of tariffs changing the prices of the Nintendo Switch 2, its accessories, and their games. So we don't have an official fluctuation of tariff percentages just yet. And I'm pretty sure most people don't even know exactly how tariffs work. But basically, Nintendo was going to raise prices for their games originally. This is without the announcement of tariff changes. So they were originally the bad guys to begin with. And everybody in their impulsive buy, knee-jerk reactions all forgot about that. Nintendo was going to screw you over anyway. And because they're keeping the price for their console and games the same, even though the tariff changes haven't happened yet, people are applauding Nintendo and making that a reason to support their $80 game price tag. Again, I think that this is some kind of ploy in order to sell their bundle with Mario Kart World, but I think the whole thing is just messy and we should get away from the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo, even though we've been waiting for this console for so long. I know it's painful. I want to get Nintendo Switch 2 really bad, but I have other handhelds that can do even more than the Nintendo Switch 2 can. So I'm good just waiting for the prices to lower for the games specifically. But besides the games, there's just too much to count. There are too many things that Nintendo is charging us for, like the upgrades, and apparently Hogwarts Legacy is not going to be eligible to be upgraded if you bought the original Nintendo Switch 1 version. This is going to be an entirely new Nintendo Switch 2 title that will probably cost the same price as a remaster of an older title. But nonetheless, we already bought the game, and Nintendo promised that all of your Nintendo Switch 1 games will work, if not most of them. But I'm seeing more and more games convert over to a Nintendo Switch 2 version, and just so many other factors that come into play after purchasing the system, which is fairly priced in my opinion. I think $450 is just fine considering what the Nintendo Switch 2 can do. But that isn't the problem, and a lot of people are confusing it and giving misinformation that people are worrying about the Nintendo Switch 2 console price. We're not worrying about that. It's the video games, the $80 price tags, the accessories, the upgrades, and the convoluted instructions and information that Nintendo is releasing in Easter egg fashion. And the fact that they left out the pricing in their event doesn't show that they're confident with their decisions. And I'm certainly not confident to get a Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm not going to pre-order it tomorrow. I'm just going to let this ride. I'm calling it. But if you are considering pre-ordering it, realize that you're supporting a terrible, terrible precedent that Nintendo is setting. This will not only screw over future adopters of the Switch 2, but consoles and games in the future as well. I'm just making this video kind of as a last stand for gamers that want fair prices and for people that don't want to be taken advantage of. And Nintendo is taking advantage of you and telling you to pay up for whatever merchandise and prices they raise next. I think the Switch 2 is an impressive piece of hardware. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying the prices are not impressive. If anything, they're pretty shady. In a way, this is worse than microtransactions. This is a company charging you to upgrade the games you already have, doubling the prices of some accessories and amiibos, and raising the prices of their games to $80 for not only Nintendo games, but for PlayStation, Xbox, and whichever other company decides to make consoles. It does seem like an inevitability, and you can justify it as that. You can think to yourself, well, games are supposed to cost this much because of inflation, and games in the past used to cost $80 as well. And the video game industry was kind of like the Wild West. Yes, it was. It's because it was the Wild West. You were making a lot of risky choices by making a video game with a certain amount of money, and those companies didn't think they would get a payoff from their investments. But the video game industry now is a billion-dollar business. If a big company like Nintendo makes a game, they know they're going to get a good payout for their investment. In fact, the internet makes it possible to perfectly calculate exactly how much revenue you're going to make in one physical year. And the reason why it's so predictable nowadays is because they don't change prices. They base their success on how many gamers buy the game opposed to how much the game costs. The more successful a company is, the more predictable their sales will become, and the less the prices will fluctuate. It wasn't like that back then. All of the gaming companies didn't really know exactly how much people would be interested and how many people would buy it because there wasn't exactly a direct way to advertise their games as there is today. Everybody's on their phones. Hell, they could even see how many people are viewing their ads. Not only can Nintendo keep count of how many games they're going to potentially sell and how many consoles they're going to sell, but they can keep count of how many people are interested in it. So I think that's enough reassurance to give us fair prices. They're sort of controlling us into viewing it by giving us ads directly into our phones, which we're on all the time, but they're also raising the prices by a ridiculous amount. And there are a lot of smart people on YouTube, but I think most of them, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, especially Nintendo YouTubers, have been successfully manipulated. And these people are smart as hell. So it surprises me when a lot of these people don't see that they've been manipulated so well by Nintendo, and their impulse to buy is more overwhelming than having good judgment. And I think if gamers resist the impulse to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, which sounds impossible, right, then that will let the industry know that we actually have minds of our own. And some comments I see justify their Nintendo Switch 2 purchase by saying, well, a lot of people are going to get it and it's going to be sold out. So your justification is that other people are going to buy it? That's the most sheepish way to think. And I'm sorry to say that, but people are thinking as if they're animals being herded. They're not thinking like leaders or individuals anymore. So make a last stand, be an individual, be smart and have good judgment, and let the video game industry know that you're more than just an impulse buy. At this rate, gamers don't own anything, and the gaming industry has been taking advantage of us for the past 15 years. And I, for one, think that there should be a change, a big one, and the Nintendo Switch 2 can be that change. Just don't let them manipulate you into buying one, even though they're straight up telling you that they're going to screw you over to your face. I remember back then when Xbox did this with the Xbox One. They said that you couldn't lend your friend your game disc because it'll be registered to your specific Xbox One. And guess what happened? Nobody bought a fucking Xbox One. Okay, guys? Don't buy a Nintendo Switch 2 and they will learn. The worst that'll happen is you don't play Cyberpunk at 30 FPS in handheld mode. Who cares? Cyberpunk 2077 isn't even that great. I'll say it right now. That game is just known for being difficult to launch and play. But now the Nintendo Switch 2 is basically playing a modern version of Crysis day one. Who cares? It's just a tech demo. The game's story isn't even that great. The combat isn't even that great. I feel like Cyberpunk 2077 is a jack of all trades, master of none type video game. It isn't exactly impressive, but it's not bad. So who cares about those games? Like Street Fighter 6, it's not even going to be in the cartridge. There's so many negatives to positives. I don't get why people can't see this. So make a last stand. Have a brain. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a good one. Later.